Eva, welcome back.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You were on the road earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
You sent me an amazing picture of a massive rainbow in the gorge. You have to tell me what you were doing.
Well, at that point in time, we were driving back here to make my 3:00 appointment with you.
Yes, great.
No, but we stayed at the Society Hotel in Bingen for the night.
Ooh, nice.
Leslie and I were celebrating our anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very fun. Did you get to do any like storm watching or like it must have been pretty nice out there? I don't know.
We did hiking in the rain like you do in November.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we did at sort of sunset-ish time last night. We went to Spirit Falls, which is like just west of White Salmon.
Cool.
It's kind of just a rock scramble, and then you come to this place that's like, as Leslie called it, sublime, which essentially means like incredibly beautiful and also terrifying.
Yeah. When I hear rock scramble this time of year, I'm just like slippery,
muddy, wet leaves.
Moss. Yes, moss. So
we did see 2 other people though, so we felt like it was an okay choice.
Yeah, and folks at home, rest assured, she's got the proper footwear.
Well, because my other shoes were wet from the hike this morning.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you got away because you've been busy.
I know.
I feel like you've been doing all sorts of stuff.
Turning into the chair of something.
Oh boy.
It's like 30 hours a week or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Oh good. Then when you come into the shed, you can spill all the inside beans around Bike Loud.
I did turn off Slack. I was like, no.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
To just turn something off. Yeah. You can turn off your phone anytime.
I actually can.
Yeah.
But now I have a whole nother thing that I have to check.
Oh, basketball?
Yeah, my team's like
Do you have
app.
2 separate, like what are your channels for communicating with basketball?
Yeah, all sports teams I've been involved with have the most annoying apps. They are like communication apps that are like marketed toward teams, and they're just bad. They're like full of ads and just gross. They don't work that well. And like when I've been involved with teams, like say through the Parks and Rec department or even private clubs or like in this case PPS, there's only certain ones they want you to use, and they're just not great.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't get notifications on it, so I always have to fire this thing up to see if like one of my kids is asking something about practice or whatever else. So.
When you said fire it up, I'm just imagining like dial-up internet or something.
Right.
Just like waiting.
It's not bad. But, it's kind of a blessing and the curse. I love staying in touch with stuff, and there's always interesting things on the Bike Loud Slack.
Oh, my God.
Constant source of...
all the time.
Yeah. Intrigue and drama and information. And
it's almost like, sometimes you have to like filter out the...
Yeah. One of my biggest jobs is filtering. Yeah, and trying to figure out what stuff to care about, get mad at, not get mad at.
Sure, yeah.
And I often get those wrong.
Are you mad at leaves today or not?
Oh my gosh. That was such a fiasco. That's one of the more interesting experiences I've had. The fact that one throwaway post on Instagram where I just, got an email from someone that said see, this has happened to me before, and I'm not blaming this, but it happens where when someone else is involved with giving me information, I'll sort of take in their emotion, right? So I'll sort of like take their emotion and then put that out onto Bike Portland channels. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's like, it's not necessarily all my emotion, but I'm like sort of empathizing with them and or taking their information in. And then anyway, so I've gotten in trouble for that a few times, and then I'm realizing... You're
just a medium.
Right, and that's not great. I have to be more careful about that. But anyway, this one was like, this person was really super fired up. And it was so ironic because, so I posted on Instagram saying, this is just not great at all to have massive amounts of leaves in this protected bike lane next to the park. And I pointed out that it might have been a contractor or someone at Parks, just so that Parks would know or we could figure out what was going on and try to prevent it. And then somebody was really upset and thought I was like calling out.
Oh, this was the one where it was like somebody blew leaves in the bike lane and then they came around to clean up the leaves that got blown in the bike lane.
Yeah. And it was just one of the ironies of that whole fiasco. So the person ended up making a podcast saying how terrible I was, several posts on Instagram telling me how terrible I was, all these DMs on Instagram trying to like enlighten me about all the issues that this person cares about. Anyway, it was just a whole misunderstanding.
Defensive.
Yeah, it was annoying. But the irony was, a few days before that, I was sitting here with you in the shed on the podcast saying how leaves aren't really bothering me that much.
I know.
It's just a thing. It sucks to deal with it, but it's a complicated problem. that you can't just get mad and hope that Peabot's going to like get 10 new sweepers overnight or something. And
so just think about like when you drive, do you pick different routes depending on like what the road, like I will literally ride my bike different places if it's dark out, if there are leaves in the road, if I saw some glass there last week.
Right.
Like I make so many micro decisions that Google doesn't know to make for me. Like, do people make those in cars?
No.
Sure, there's like construction, or maybe they put in a speed camera and you don't want to go by that. Or,
maybe for potholes and super bumpy roads, but I actually doubt
okay.
it, because in a car you just kind of maybe slow down a bit. But like you're preaching to the choir. Like I totally agree. It's unfair. This is
but like the potholes don't change dependent on time of day or time of year.
Right. And you, just, if they're going to be there or not. But see, this is as the chair or whatever you're doing right now with Bike Cloud. As you know, like, in my opinion, being around advocacy for a while, like one of the most crucial skills and hardest things to navigate is how mad to be and how to balance, like, call out sort of anger with understanding and all these other factors, and the leaf thing is really difficult to get right, I think, from like an advocacy perspective. And like, I don't think of myself as an advocacy first and foremost as an advocate, but it is advocacy sort of journalism. So yeah, getting that tone right is really challenging, because I agree it's super unacceptable, but there's also like thinking about how do you actually get the situation to improve, and is getting mad every single year the way to do that? Maybe getting mad at leaves. I think advocates have to realize the optics and how that looks outside of our bubble. It does look like whiny complaints. And so if you're thinking of building a big coalition outside our bubble, like, you think that's something to consider given all the other problems people face. Like,
but we've been talking, like, you've been talking tricky about, hey, what if this gets outsourced?
That's like, right. I'd rather talk about some solution. Yeah.
Why can't we look at a solution instead of talking about what not to complain about?
Yeah, it is frustrating. And yeah, I have to admit, part of my not yelling at the city as much is probably just getting burnt out on doing that and seeing that it doesn't really budge.
Seeing that it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, but that's the other thing, is I do think it has worked. I think they are a little bit more like Johnny on the spot, and they do know that if those like really key bike routes sort of
there's
languish,
just some really
leaves,
intense pinch points. Like,
it's,
for example, Broadway Weidler by the Moda Center, if you're coming south, and there's that bike lane that's like around a curve, and it's bollard protected, but it is always full of crap. And that gets and people drive like terribly.
Yes, everything around the Moda Center is terrible.
Like filtering out a lot of other words out of that statement.
I hear you. So that's the one solution I've arrived at. I think contracting out privately is something like that we haven't ever talked about in other years, but I think would be super interesting.
Yeah.
But my other thing has always been, and it's the same conversation with gravel, it's the same conversation with snow, which is we get really mad. I start to question if getting mad is helping. But the one thing I think is a good way to talk about it, it's like an actionable compromise thing that we can actually hold the city accountable for, is how about a route, a map of like high priority streets that we can count on by X amount of time.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now we don't even have that.
Yeah.
It just languishes. It sits there. Weeks and weeks go on in. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger and up the ante and like, do a post about it or really get mad now because I'm frustrated. And that doesn't necessarily help all the time. But yeah, if we had like a key bike route or like a severe weather bike route thing that we knew that they were going to sweep with regularity, I think that would help. I've never asked Peabot directly necessarily about that, but my hunch is they're just really hesitant to promise anything because they don't want to be held to anything really.
Right.
Given,
but do
capacity issues and whatnot.
I mean, there's got to be like people have a schedule and there's some internally there are checklists of what needs to be done. But
I think the other important thing for people to think about, and I know I sound like an apologist for Peabot, and that's often my role. I see it more as like an interpreter, translator to try to let them try to. I
get it. Like the leaves are constantly happening.
Yeah, but my point too is like the leaves that you and I or anybody else you'd ask, like at the Bike Loud general meeting you recently had, people would think they would know exactly where their problem spots are. Yeah. They're mad about the leaves here, and it's super important to them. I think what often people don't realize is there are literally hundreds of locations like that.
Yeah.
If you ask 500 cyclists, you're going to get 375 spots at least that are super important. They have one, maybe two small street sweepers that can, right? So it's just it's a funnel
so
thing.
Maybe we need
how
to
many
think
can
about
they do?
like, why are we doing this thing with bollards? Like, why aren't we doing raised cycle paths? Why aren't we doing something that's easier to sweep the whole roadway?
Yeah. I feel like we need a summit on bike lane sweeping and maintenance.
Yeah,
like
sure.
there's a lot of things to talk about around it.
Well, it's just such a problem. Like, you don't see, it's like vernacular architecture, like we need to look at the problems that are coming in the future. Like, it rains a lot here. So you see really large overhangs built into roofs on houses because that's helpful to keep the rain away from the foundation and like away from the siding and all of that. And then you go somewhere else where there's like no rain ever. They have flat roofs and no overhang. So like, why isn't street design like that?
Right. Like
based on the potential of rain or leaves or gravel or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we also have big bioswales, another like mature response to something we know happens all the time, which is a lot of rainfall.
Just like that.
I mean, the other thing that no one ever talks about, which I've literally been hesitant to bring up because I just feel like it's like beating PBOT and ODOT to some degree. It's like if you talk about bike lane design, I don't know if engineers think about runoff and how it gathers in the curb, but the fact that so many of our spaces that we rely on actually just puddle up, like gravel, snow, leaves, puddling. I mean, I see it starts to sound
like right by your house,
Lake Michigan, I call it. Yeah,
Lake Michigan.
It's Lake Michigan. And that one is because it literally is a design issue. It's because they've repaved Rosa Parks so the streets actually lifted up a few layers and the side streets are lower because they haven't been paved. And so you've created this situation where the water just stands right there. And it's not about getting the gutter open and getting the leaves out.
Right,
it's just a design issue. But even it's frustrating, like even Lombard, after ODOT repaved and put new bike lanes on Lombard, that pools up with water. So I'm wondering, like, what are are these engineers and these structural design people, are there conferences that talk about like, let's make sure it doesn't puddle in the middle where all the people are driving, right? Yeah. And it's crowned like, so
pretty intensely
so that it goes off to the curb, but that's also where the bike lanes are. So anyway, I just feel like we need to, upgrade this to like some kind of conversation where we have meetings with people. Cause I think just yelling about it online.
Well, we've only been building bike lanes in the US for 30 years or something.
True.
It hasn't been that long.
That's true. Speaking of advocacy, you guys had a big general meeting.
We had a general meeting.
And it was at the library downtown. There's something so, I don't know, civically wonderful about that.
It was awesome.
Tell me about it.
Well, so the public library in Portland, Multnomah County Library, has community rooms at a lot of the branches. And you can just book one for free. So we booked community room 1A, which holds up to 40 people. It's basically just in the front of the central library. The acoustics were great. It's like really clean space. Everybody working there was super friendly.
Cool.
So I recommend they have rooms that fit anywhere from like 1 to 40 people, depending on where your library is.
Nice.
You don't even need a library card to book this. Like, you literally just need an email address.
That's the wonderful thing about library. They just want people in there.
Yeah. They want you to use it.
I felt so bad though. It was like one of the worst nights of the atmospheric river bomb cyclone. And I was like, oh man, I hope Bike Cloud
well, that and I tried to take the Max, but the Max was broken or something. So I had to ride my bike and
too wet for the Max, too hot for the Max. There's always a reason the Max is down.
It wasn't running from Prescott North.
Oh boy. But it was a good turnout.
Yeah. It was 30. We got 30 people.
I love that. I saw photos and I was like, I don't know all these people. This is wonderful.
People rode their bikes. People walked.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And you know that the people who showed up,
committed.
Those are legit. Those are the people you want. Anybody that wouldn't make it down there, you know what? You don't want to volunteer for Bike Lane anyway. Forget it.
No, you're not committed to like walk uphill both ways.
You guys should do that.
30 miles an hour winds.
That should be your vetting process. Yeah. Just have the meeting in like, I don't know, the worst time, hardest place to get to and see who can manage to show up.
Quarter inch of rain in an hour.
Yeah. Wait, did I just say that? And the whole, like the biggest knock about bike advocacy in America is that it's exclusive and isn't welcoming. And I'm like, make your meetings harder to get to. Only the hardy can show up.
Well, it's free. We had free snacks.
Okay, save me.
Yeah.
Good.
I thought it was fun.
No, you're really coming around then if you thought it was fun.
Well, I organized the meeting.
Oh, I see. So you're biased.
We did like a musical thing to start the meeting.
Karaoke?
And we all talked about our favorite sandwiches. No, not karaoke.
But that was good. So it was like interactive one. People got to write like scrawling on a big butcher paper. That's always fun. Fun. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a board retreat coming up, so we can't talk about that. That's like super
we
secret.
Can't talk about that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how nonprofits work, but I always felt board retreats are like these secret cabal meetings or something.
Oh, I mean, we're just all going to hang out and like get to know the new people and feel inspired and talk about the future.
Yep. And I'm coming too, so watch out.
You will be there to get inspired and talk about the future.
Get a bunch of story ideas and like get a bunch of great quotes that I can then go.
Ruben is coming too. I don't know if you're just staying for your own hour or if you're
I think so.
Hanging out. Okay.
Got to do a gym thing on Saturday, so I'll be rushing over there. How about we do our...
Yeah, I was wondering what you had on your clipboard.
Big old checklist. Okay.
I'm ready.
I feel like I just have to look at notes, you know. Okay, how'd she get there?
Is this just a smiley face drawing?
Yeah, it's nothing here. Okay, how'd she get there segment.
Okay.
I heard some fun feedback about this, so I think it's good that people are listening. But I don't know if I heard this or I've just been hearing it in my own head, which is we got to stop maybe starting from the same place every time. Even though like my whole life.
That's where we live.
I know, but you know, I got criticized by someone recently in a personal way that was sad for me. That I don't see anything east of 82nd.
Okay.
So I'm hearing that, and I'm thinking we always do this segment like Peninsula Park to so and so, and I'm gonna do a video coming up where I go like Peninsula Park to Charles Jordan Community Center. You know, like this is just where I am. So this is where I can make most of my content and where my life is oriented. Especially in winter, it's hard to get.
All right, so I'm starting
afield.
from 141st and Stark.
Well, I mean, we could do something like that, but then I want us to be able to have insights into the routes. I mean,
well, I ride east of 82nd.
Okay, well, this one will get us out there, but we'll start slowly here.
Okay.
And maybe it would be fun. Just
we're gonna inch our way out.
If both of us are totally stumped, I mean, that's the story. Yeah. People can listen to us struggle and whatever. Okay, but this one we're gonna go OMSI to Gateway Green.
Oh, okay.
So inner southeast, Central Eastside out to Gateway Green, which is I-205, I-84, right near Gateway, Halsey, Weidler, Couplet, and like 92nd, just to orient
I mean,
folks.
honestly, I'd probably just go north. Well, do I want to go all the way up to Tillamook? I mean, the way I know is generally like from my house out to there. So
you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Clock's ticking. Let's go. I got a map here. I'm going to pull up when I get more ambitious, I'm going to be able to put this iPad on the video.
Have a little Miss Pac-Man going over here?
No, I'm looking at the map. All right, let's see. Okay, let's say you're at OMSI. How you got to get?
I'm gonna go north on the Esplanade for a little while.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna pop out at. Where am I gonna pop out? Well, so I feel like. You can take Burnside across 82nd. But you want to get, I mean, Gateway Green is sort of like, I actually don't know how to get to the park. Like I've seen it from Halsey and I literally do not know how to get there. Do you get there from like the bus station or?
You can, well, the 205 path is the best way to get there.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Usually people access it through Gateway Transit Center or north off of Prescott.
Okay.
Prescott is a good east-west street. It's not good infrastructure-wise. That's a topic I'd love to talk about sometimes. I think it's a future great bike lane. Let's just put it that way. Not at this point.
I've taken Prescott east of 82nd before.
So wait, I'm gonna pin you. So you're on the Esplanade. Where are you gonna get off? You're gonna go up to Peace Park and start over at the Moto Center, or are you gonna head to inner southeast and maybe up 12th?
If you told me 205 is the way to go, I can go east further south.
I mean, you can just stay on the Springwater.
Yeah, I can just springwater it to the 205 path. And
interesting.
That's just like off street.
That's true.
Most of the way.
That's an easy answer. Okay, done.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But otherwise, like, because I know I can get there on Tillamook, I probably would have like snaked my way to Tillamook and gone east on Tillamook because that's actually a pretty calm street.
Yep.
All the way to... that clusterfuck getting over 205.
Yeah, you'd go
by Halsey.
But Tillamook's a good way to get there. It's not a good way to get there. It stinks, but I wish we had a better way. But in terms of what we have, it's good because I often will do that. You can take Tillamook all the way.
Tillamook's a little hard. Like through Hollywood is a little like awkward.
No, I just mean it dead ends into like 92nd. Yeah. Then you've got to
you just take a right and then a left. You're
up on the Halsey sidewalk, and then you cross over Halsey again, like 5-6 lanes, and then you go through a parking lot of Fred Meyer and big box stores, and then you make your way onto the multi-use path.
And then you do like a little curly Q type thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, you passed. I mean, it's good. Yeah. That's a great thing about neighborhood greenways.
Just gotten my drone and like hopped on and flown over there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it speaks to, you're probably the same way as a lot of people. And neighborhood greenways, I mean, we could be critical of them in all sorts of ways and whatever, but they're really awesome. If you think about how prominent they are in our network, like just the way we think about getting around. I do, and I think you do too.
So I will tell you, I generally, like, I will just follow Sharrows.
Yeah.
And I know I have a decent sense of direction. So I'm like, I know I'm heading east now and I need to like take a left somewhere. Yeah.
I'm the same way, especially if it's like really late or I'm just tired. Follow Sharrows. But I was saying that like, the neighborhood greenways are almost like good enough and strong enough in the network where it's kind of like our paths, Like if there's not a path going to somewhere, which we don't have a lot of, like compared to some other cities, right? I mean, like Springwater, Marine Drive, and they're not really a network, right?
Right,
It's really far, like a big ring. It doesn't really get you to destinations, but our good neighborhood greenways do. So, yeah.
True.
So that's it. Yeah, from Esplanade out 205. Hopefully someday, I think this is definitely going to happen. We're going to punch through Tillamook, and then there'll be like either an underpass, like a bike tunnel, going to Gateway Green, or a land bridge.
There was some funding that got sort of axed because of lack of funds to do more. Yeah,
that's why I think it'll happen eventually here, because I think PBOT's probably pretty sad that got canceled.
They had already been like planning it. So
yeah, and it's a little embarrassing for them probably, or they're just probably bummed that fell through. That it was a very complicated jurisdictional situation over there, but I think going right behind Jason Lee's school and like on a tunnel, or what I think would be fun is a tunnel might be hard to get because people would not like the idea of any mention of the word tunnel in I-205 path. People don't like that. But a land bridge, that was the original idea at Gateway Green, to have a big land bridge, for all the wildlife and mountain bikers to get from Gateway Green to Rocky Butte, where we're going to have a huge mountain bike park someday at the bottom of Rocky Butte.
I'm just like thinking about like the land bridge between like Russia and Alaska.
Really?
Like that's what land bridge makes me think of.
Oh, okay, I get it. I always think of like wildlife. I just think of like stampedes of I don't know, wildebeest and whatever on a land bridge, because they're
have
like.
Have you seen wildebeest?
Well, I think of them as like wildlife corridor things. That's the way that like ODOT and other agencies like that see them. I'm not talking about like a regular bridge. It wouldn't be a street. It would just be like a little path and then whatever else. And we could get, less roadkill and like encourage wildlife. Hey, if we can get some grants by encouraging wildlife crossing of 205, you got to do it. You got to do whatever you can. You got to go get the money, right? So that's what it takes.
Driving along the Columbia River, I was thinking about like how different it must feel. Like if you were here before the dams went in.
Yeah, hard to imagine.
How like...
Would it have just been a quaint little creek in a valley?
Well, it was like a pretty intense...
Wasn't a valley? It was,
river. Yeah.
It was a river.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah,
But think of like the Deschutes River or something. Maybe you've been by there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very just wide and... Oh, no. It's similar.
The river itself is not super wide, but... I don't know how wide the Columbia was, like, depending on where you were.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
there
more
are images, like you can find there. I don't know the photographer. I went to a show at the Portland Art Museum that was like this photographer that used to do really large, like 24 by 24 glass plate negatives of,
so cool.
In the 1800s.
Yeah.
And then they sort of had like some modern day photographers that are making some like commentary on what we've done.
Right. Are those the ones where there's like people fishing on the fishing platforms and stuff?
Well, it was generally more just like, here's what the landscape looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen those photographs too, like in Celilo Falls area.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, I don't know if the Deschutes is a good comparison. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. I don't know geology super well. It probably is. I mean, it's the same area.
But yeah, we could look at photographs.
Yeah. Or it wasn't like John Day or something, or is much more chill in terms of being wide, right? Anyway, river geography and
well,
geology.
do you know the Dalles?
Oh, I know it well.
Means gutter
Dalles
in French.
It means gutter?
Yeah. Or
why?
Like channel.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Because of the way the river...
there were like big rock faces and the river ran.
Well, it was a portage spot back in the day, right?
Okay.
That's why the Oregon Trail started from there. People like we're getting off. We're not, forget this. We're not on the river anymore. Something like that. Yeah, I love the Dalles. Lewis and Clark camped right there on the edge. There's a little marker for that. I've hung out there with my bike. It's a really cool place. But unfortunately, they weren't nice to windsurfers back in the day, and their town has been different ever since.
Is that what happened? They all went up to Hood River?
Yeah, the Dalles was the major city. That's why the freeway signs say the Dalles, not Hood River.
Okay.
The Dalles was like the center for whatever industry, timber, I don't know, something else. But it was the big city back in the day, probably 50s, 60s, 70s. And this was like someone who was like president of the Chamber of Commerce told this to me. I did like a visit out there several years ago just to check out their bike stuff and hang out and do some gravel riding. And that's the story they told, is that back when windsurfing first started out and all these like, crusty van life kind of dudes were just doing windsurfing, right? Yeah. Like kind of hippies or whatever. They showed up at the Dalles, and the Dalles weren't very nice to them. And we're like, why don't you go? They were like, get out of here. Go over to Hood River.
Yeah.
And there you go. And so they sort of like, it was like what am I trying to say? Like the ski bum culture, right? So it was like these people just hanging out. All they wanted to do was windsurf, and they weren't welcome in the Dalles. Yeah, so they went and set up shop in Hood River.
Take your hippie butts up river.
Yeah, and so they did, and Hood River's to their fortune for sure. So and the Dalles has sort of struggled ever since economically, I think, to some degree, in different ways. But anyway, I think they finally got a brewery or two, because that's really the marker of successful Oregon small towns. Do you have a brewery? Is it any good? That's kind of the marker.
I don't know. We went to Murphy's family watering hole or something like that last night. It was pretty great.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
A family watering hole.
We were the only people there.
Oh.
And our server told us she had 32 ounces of coffee and then half a Monster energy drink. And I was like, oh, you okay?
I bet your service is really good.
Okay?
Or she kept forgetting stuff.
No, she was like, my brain is moving a lot faster than my body, which is fine when there's only two people in the restaurant.
Oh my goodness. Did you get out anywhere else this week? Anywhere around town? Any adventures?
What have I done? Well, I feel like I did a lot of riding in rain. I went to a tiny little cafe that I'd never been to on 42nd and Fremont. A long time ago, it was the original Ristretto coffee shop. It's called Little Griddle or something like that. I went there for a breakfast meeting.
Cool.
That was cute.
Is that the day you rode? Did I see you and you said you rode like 30 miles for meetings in a day or something?
35 miles. So I had a meeting at 42nd and Fremont. And
in the rain.
And then I had a meeting at like lunchtime at Rivermark down on Hawthorne and like 26th. And then I had the Bike Loud meeting at the Central Library.
You're retired, right?
Yeah. So I have time for stuff like this.
Yeah, riding around 30 miles to meetings.
So I just say yes.
Yeah.
Any meeting. Yeah. Sure, I'll be there. I ran Recon with Maria Schur. So Cranksgiving is this Sunday.
Yeah, tell me more,
It's going to benefit Portland Street Medicine. We are meeting at Nosa Familia Coffee, the one on 3rd, not the one in Lads. Okay, anybody listening, make sure you go to the right one. 3rd and Clay. So it's basically a scavenger hunt. So Maria does these like alley cat rides sometimes, but she's got this one set up. First half of it is like family friendly, and then the second half of it is like a little more competitive for 21 and over. So we're gonna have a starting point, and everyone does the family friendly half, and then 21 and overs do the second half, and we end up at, it's like a beer hall and pizza place out on Fremont, or out on Foster.
Cool. Describe what a alley cat scavenger hunt thing is on a bike.
Oh, so you get a sheet of paper that has clues, and you have to figure out where these clues are, and they sort of give you enough hints to get you there, and then usually you have to answer. You have to like put in an answer for whatever the clue is. So you won't know the answer to the clue until you get to that place.
Nice. So you have to know where things are, how to get there. It's good for your
wayfinding.
Yeah.
And it's always a little bit more challenging for me because Maria lives like down in Brentwood, Darlington. So I'm not as familiar with deeper southeast.
Right.
Anyways.
Cool.
It should be fun.
Sounds like fun. Cranksgiving.
Cranksgiving.
Sunday.
Yes. Meet at 11. Ready, set, go at noon.
It's on the shift calendar.
It is on the shift calendar. Bring cash or check.
Good.
Maria's not into this Venmo stuff.
Yeah. Maria's got her own particular things.
Also, there are like $2,000 of prizes. So
cool.
Pretty much, we figure almost everyone will get a prize.
Okay, show up to Cranksgiving on Sunday. Get a prize, have fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Learn about, go through the city, learn about all kinds of cool places.
Cross your fingers that it's not 40 and raining.
Then it'll be epic.
Yeah,
and only the hardcore will go.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah. I was out at 42nd too. I went out to see the new TriMet ramp.
Woo-wee.
I got a really mean, or no, I don't want to say, I shouldn't have said that. I got a really, someone was not happy that I called it a bike ramp.
Oh, it's a ramp.
It's a ramp. It's a bike ramp. It's also for biking, but this person said that it was ableist ideology that I was spreading by calling it a bike ramp because that didn't include the fact that it's not just for bike riders. It's also for people in wheelchairs and anybody else who wants to use the ramp, which obviously I understand and like, but just called it a bike ramp because sometimes you got to ride a headline.
Semantics.
And you got to just get it out there. So anyway, yeah, that was cool. It was really interesting. Mm-hmm. Somebody said something, because if you look at the way the ramp is, it doesn't really connect to the overpass very well. And someone in a comment, which I never would have thought of, they said that it looks like TriMet will ultimately want to just put a new overcrossing right there, which I could see making sense. I mean, TriMet always has to find another big project. That's like how they survive. So, it's like even if they don't necessarily need to do stuff, they will. They just they got to go find federal money and get a good grant so everybody can, keep their job and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if you look at that overpass, the 42nd overpass over I-84, it is pretty old and kind of nasty. And it's obviously, that's how you get to the max.
Right.
And there's elevators. So I could see them wanting to upgrade that whole thing to integrate it better with the ramp. Because right now the ramp doesn't really like click onto the existing overpass in like the coolest way.
Okay.
It's kind of like a little, it's just like a little.
So you need to find somebody at TriMet to spill the beans on that.
I know it. And once I read that comment, I was like, oh, that does make sense. Because why would you build that ramp like that and then have that, the corner as it comes back to the overpass isn't super wide and nice. And I just thought, oh, okay, maybe they are. So that'd be good. But it's great. It's really, it's much better than it used to be. Although I do miss the little trials challenge of the old ramp.
of taking turns, like super tight turns.
It's like such a point of pride that I could make it down without putting my foot down or hitting the side. It was like a little game.
Yeah. Do you ever so there's these like switchbacks if you're just north of the Burnside Bridge on the east side of the river. Mm-hmm. It's probably in between like Davis and something south of there. But there's these little switchbacks and it's super tight. I even think it might be difficult with a stroller with a fixed front wheel. It's a fun challenge for you.
Yeah, those are fun. We should take, someone should take like a big Pedalpalooza ride.
Just doing one of those awkward ramp switchbacks.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Let's find the tightest corners, right?
Yeah.
And just see if you can manage. I also stopped by, on the way over, I stopped by the new crossing of how Northeast Hancock, which is a neighborhood greenway, how the city got that through a plaza in Hollywood and then over across Sandy to continue over to Hancock, I guess, and also connect to the rest of the network. Anyway, yeah, it was interesting because we
should just like maybe laminate a map onto your table.
Well, I mean, once I learned
you have one printed out over there.
Once I learned what cables to connect to what on my cool new little devices over here, I could have like a video and I could have like a pen.
Beep boop.
But yeah, Hancock is right where it comes in. That's the neighborhood greenway. We used to do the neighborhood greenway on Tillamook, but the city of Portland got a little bit nervous because once you get like east of 33rd near Grant High School and all that stuff, there's a lot of traffic, a lot of on-street parking. It's not very safe. Yeah. So even though that was the historical bike boulevard, they switched it a couple years ago over to Hancock, just one block south.
Right.
There's a little bit of annoyance with that initially, but now I think it's a great move. They put a nice signal over by Cleary Elementary to get you across. It's really nice. But anyway, Hancock dead-ended into this little plaza in Hollywood. Where they had that burger joint for a long time. So anyway, it's tricky. If you have a bikeway and you have a plaza, what are you going to do? So they decided to put the bikeway through the plaza, which is pretty different for PBOT to do that. I thought that was kind of cool. They took the challenge, but they only did minimal stuff. This is their thing of like balancing. They don't want bikers like flying through a plaza and running over old people because you know how crazy we are, us bikers. So I feel like they didn't want to market super well.
Like on 28th and Ankeny?
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. So there's no real markings at all. There's a ramp, obviously, to get up there and no real markings, so you're kind of on your own, which makes sense in that environment. You want to have everybody be using caution. And And then there's a bike only signal. You know, once you get to the Sandy crossing, obviously you have to have a bike only signal, which works like immediately. I love those.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, going south, it works super nice. The blue light comes on, you know you're seen, and then you just cross over Sandy, and you're like, yeah, that's right, I'm special. So yeah, that works really well. I'll probably do like a little video of that.
So speaking of bike signals, so there's the bike signal going over MLK at Going.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an ODOT project?
That's a PBOT project.
It's a PBOT project. Okay. Yeah. So I have a friend who rides an Urban Arrow, and he is like, where they put the button is like the most asinine decision. He's like, I can't maneuver when I have 2 kids in an Urban Arrow trying to get that button.
Do you read by Portland just by chance? I know I made the same point. That was my biggest point.
I'm sorry, Jonathan.
It's a really bad design. I mean, actually, something was happening that week where I posted that, and I didn't have the time to really like give it as much attention. But I do need to kind of go back and look at it again, because I've been getting emails from somebody who's really not super fired up about it, which I agree with. But yeah, the placement of the button you have to push to trigger the light is bad. Yeah. It's too far back.
Well, it's too far back, and it's the curve.
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
The curve is curved, kind of, or angled. So if you have a front loader, it makes it really awkward.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Even on a regular bike, it's awkward.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great project at all. I think it's kind of one of those things where, obviously PBOT tried to cut corners and they tried to save money. So the sensors should be in the ground, or they should be like Bluetooth or some other high-tech thing, which they're not. So you must push a button to trigger the light, and the buttons aren't in the right spots. Not only, like you said, they're hard to reach with certain bikes, but they're way before the stop line where you naturally stop.
Yeah.
I sat there and watched biker after biker come and just roll past them, not even see the button. So they're sitting there waiting.
Or they're like so used to how it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's like 30 seconds you have to wait.
It's really not great. Yeah. And it's a half signal. So the biker, which is a super important biking street, really, really crowded with bikes. Well, it used to be more so, but still a good fair amount of bike traffic. It's basically, you're supposed to treat it like a stop sign, but it has a walk signal and a button. It's really confusing.
What do you mean it's a half signal?
It means there's only signal for MLK, for the dominant street, for the drivers. There's no signal for the bikers or anybody else.
Oh, right.
That's the only people going across, because there's a median and there's no driving and goes across. So it's just bikers and walkers. But walkers have a crosswalk and it says walk, don't walk. Mm-hmm. There's not there's a bike signal too, but you can treat it. So this is the problem, this is like this weird gray area. Mm-hmm. In the city's perspective, it's like, well, hey, if you don't want to stop, then, if you're going to complain about the button, just treat it like a stop sign. Legally, you can, because there's no signal. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to roll now, but then now drivers have a green light?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So then what would happen, like, if you got hit? Would it be your fault?
It's going to be an interesting legal test. But
that's written in Bike Portland, so I can just reference your article that says, I talked to somebody at PBOT and they said...
Yeah, the signal detection should be in there. They're kind of saying like they would upgrade it if they got the money.
Right.
But there's that. But yeah, I haven't heard anything back about the push button. Meantime, people are just rolling across when there's a green signal for drivers, which I think is like a red alarm. This is more dangerous than before. We waited, I forget how many years, 7 years for this freaking signal to come.
Yeah.
And now it's like arguably worse.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating, right? So I don't know. I guess we'll probably delve into that a little bit more. But yes, I'm aware that the MLK going signal is not great.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Well, you're the chair of Bike Loud. Why don't you go do something about it? Gosh.
There's only so many things I can be loud about.
People's listening going like, hey, there's only so many things we can
I
do
agree.
just the way you guys want them.
We're all,
things are a mess, and we're all just doing what we can with what we have where we are. That's what I always think about it.
It always sucks, though, to be like really excited about a project, and then when it's done, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I know. So I should get out there with a video. I think doing a video just showing people not using the button and showing a bunch of super close calls, which I know are happening, could be helpful.
Like I said, I don't always read Bike Portland, but what the heck is up with the pavement on Ankeny right now?
Yeah.
Like up, I don't know, close to where you used to have happy hour.
Yeah, this is a new thing.
RIP maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec, but this is the thing I just need to do some work on to kind of explain what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's a recurring thing that's happened because it was on Tillamook right by MLK as well. These are Water Bureau projects. They must have a list of things that they're going down a list and doing whatever it is, sewer repair, water main repair. I don't know, but it's definitely Water Bureau projects. They're basically ripping up streets right in like the line you would take as a cyclist, basically like where a Sharrow would be, right?
Yeah.
And they're not putting the pavement back well.
Yeah.
It's crap. It's like a bunch of gravels, very uneven. It's like a softer material. It's just bad.
It's weird.
It's like you're bumping around. It was so bad. When I first felt the one like on Ankeny and Tillamook even, I was like, oh, this is obviously temporary. They just forgot to put signs up, so I'm not going to bug anybody.
Well, that's what's worrying me about Ankeny is it feels similarly like, oh, those are real crappy. Like maybe they're just repaving the whole street.
Yeah, it's definitely, all I'll say is that like that's a story that needs to be done. And if, I don't know if any other local media are listening, if they care enough about, this could actually be a really interesting story.
This could be like a real, like, I don't know, where are those KGW investigative report?
Yeah. And props to KGW. They do that Driving Me Crazy thing. Yeah. And they did one recently. Chris McGinnis, if you're listening, thank you so much. Good guy, does some really cool like transportation reporting. But he has that segment, Driving Me Crazy, usually shares just like, all the things that annoy people, road rages, whatever. But in his recent segment, he mentioned how annoying it is to park in the bike lanes. It was so cool.
Yeah, nice.
Anytime the local media like points out bad driving like that, bad driving behavior, it's just like, oh, thank you. Inject it into my veins. Like
there's plenty of drivers that are annoyed with all the other drivers.
True. But they don't often take it from like the perspective that we might have of like looking at people parking in a bike lane thinking it's a big enough deal to mention, So that was nice. I appreciate that person saying that. But yeah, those bumpy things from the Water Bureau definitely need to get figured out. And there's got to be a mechanism where, there's a process where they have to go back and smooth that stuff out. I don't care how much it costs, but that's not acceptable to make these like
bad.
Neighborhood green, especially Ankeny and Tillamook. These are the originals. These go back to the 80s, man. These are so important, or 90s, and they've got to be fixed. So that could be something that, the new council, once we have our firebrand cycling safe streets champion on city council, Mitch Green, maybe they can pound their fist a little bit and say, hey, who do I talk to at PBOT that can get me an answer on this? Deputy Administrator Priya Dhanapal, you need to figure this out, get back to us by next meeting, and we're going to have an answer because our constituents are mad. Like, aren't you, like, I'm so eager to see how these dynamics work with a complaint like this or like a real issue. What happens when someone on council, we're able to talk about it? Does it get fixed or not? Anyway.
Yeah, right.
I think it's hard
to just go testify in front of city council and say, hey.
Yeah, that's the other thing with like these annoyances, like the signal going or the leaves or these bumps. It's like, I feel like we're in this lame duck situation right now. Like, I have no energy. Is it
even worth it?
No.
Yeah, nobody's going to be there next.
It's not.
Dan Ryan's the only one who's going to be there.
Yeah, and it's not. It's like really not. I have no energy to go. Like, it wouldn't make sense because nobody in City Hall is really like. They're just like trying to pack up and get out of there.
Yeah.
So everything's just kind of on hold.
So you're gonna go do some karaoke maybe at City Council then?
Why would I do that?
I don't know. You got 3 minutes.
That people could, I guess. That'd be kind of cool. They should do that on their first meeting. If I was them on their first meeting, they better make it fun. Like I'm trying to make.
One would hope.
One would hope. I'm trying to make bike happy hour fun since I appreciate people maybe a little bit.
I love having it close to my house.
Yeah, right. I've gotten such a mix of reactions changing the location. A couple people were like, "This is so great! It's a little longer ride, and I can pedal off my beer calories now."
There you go.
So I like that attitude. Mm-hmm. Some people were mad. They're like, "Well, there's you should have kept it central," which I get. This is kind of
why is Southeast Portland central? That's my question.
I mean, isn't it though geographically kind of central?
Isn't downtown central?
Well, yeah, but you're splitting hairs here. But I think the inner east side.
28th and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But this is what we're gonna do for the time being. But next week, I'm going to have some raffle prizes going on. So that'll be cool. A couple $50 gift cards from River City Bicycles.
Wow.
So if you show up, you can get those. Or maybe a really cool item from Showers Pass or Portland Design Works. Lights, fenders kind of thing. Oh, God, who did I forget? Adventure Cycling.
Cool.
We'll have some fun stuff from there. Amazing. Some socks and other things. Yeah, it's going to be good. And a couple speakers. Marnie Glickman is going to come and talk. I love how these really good city council candidates that didn't quite make it in, they want to be part of the like safe streets, advocacy, transportation stuff.
She came to World Day of Remembrance.
Yeah, her and Nat West, and so that's cool. Marnie's gonna come and hang out, and then we're gonna have Jamie Dunphy, our first counselor elect. Yay! And he this is gonna be his first time at Bike Happy Hour too.
He's in East Portland. No.
Yeah, District 1, East Portland. Jamie Dunphy. He's going to come to Bike Happy Hour, introduce himself to everyone, which is great. That puts our Bike Happy Hour majority on City Council now at 9. 9 out of 13. So,
it's like a super majority.
I mean, yeah. If you just look at council, that's 9 out of 12. I think there's 3 people on City Council who will have not been to Bike Happy Hour after this coming Wednesday. So we got to get them over there. We'll get them to stop by. So yeah, trying to make the new location.
Is Dan Ryan?
Yeah, Dan's one of them. Candace hasn't been there.
Okay.
And Olivia Clark.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think they'll all show up eventually. To Migration Brewing on North Williams Avenue, if you're still listening and curious where the new location is. They're super thrilled to have us. They're going to do $5 pints, which is really cool. So that's fun. That's it. And this coming week, this Wednesday, the 27th?
Sure.
I think.
That sounds good.
Yeah, something like that. 3rd, 4th, 5th. Anyway, this coming week, my mom might come. She'll be in town visiting.
I love that.
Yeah, so you get to meet.
Is she coming here for Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then we're going to go see A Christmas Carol after that over at, and I'm forgetting the actual place, but it's
like a play?
It's a playhouse in Alberta Church. It's like I'm forgetting, but it's a small church in Northeast.
Okay.
Pretty close in. Mm-hmm. What else? There's a lot of good bike shop news. Well, I should say interesting bike shop news. Bad news that Something Cycles got broken into on Burnside.
Sorry, guys.
But good news is they got some good media coverage. Mm-hmm. Local TV, which is nice. That's a bummer. It got broken into, but these raised almost like $5,000-6,000 on GoFundMe.
Oh,
that's
good.
super cool. I got a bike I got to bring over there. So support Something Cycles because that sucks getting stuff stolen.
They're on East
Damaged.
Burnside.
Yeah. Burnside in like 12th.
Maybe less than that.
Yeah, something like that. There's a super secret new shop. I guess I won't say the location out of respect. It's called Secret Cycles. And it's somebody who would do this. Starmichael Bowman.
Oh, okay.
Goes way back.
I was like, I heard that Starmichael is opening again.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a shop. I'll just say it's off Hawthorne.
Super secret. Is it like in his basement or something?
No, it's actually a location.
Oh, okay.
But I looked on his website before this episode, and I noticed that he said secret location. Get in touch with me.
Okay.
For details. So I don't want to like blast it out. But go to the website. I think it's on starmichaelbowman.net or something. But if you look up Starmichael Secret Cycles, I'll put a link in the show notes to his website. And then Kenton Cycles is for sale. So we reported last month that they were out of business, and there was some heartbreak around that because it's a huge swath of North Portland without a bike shop.
Yeah.
And I'd heard that I heard in Starmichael did a YouTube video sharing some hot gossip about it. There was someone in the bike community who was in talks with Rich Walker to take over Kenton Cycle, but Rich now says that fell through. So he is looking for a suitor. So if anyone out there has some money burning a hole in their pocket and wants to jump into the bike industry with his established shop, all the tools, turnkey business, get in touch with Rich by December 8th.
Do it.
So
start stocking e-bikes for the PCEF SP6 that's coming down the line.
Yeah, that's right. Or maybe there's someone in
rebates.
Yeah, maybe there's someone in your life and that'd be a nice Christmas gift. Buy them a bike shop.
Buy them a bike shop.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know.
Wow.
Could happen.
That would be the weirdest thing to get in your stocking.
What would you do?
Can you think of a weirder thing to be gifted for Christmas?
I mean, if you really want to do it right, you get like a snow globe and you get a little miniature bike shop or a little building that says bike shop and you put that in the stocking.
Custom
and the person's
snow
like,
globe?
oh, a new bike shop. This is so great. A new old bike shop. It's a used bike shop.
It's a used bike shop.
Yeah. Oh, boy. So there we go. I think that'll do it for this week.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else that you're burning to share? Nah. Okay.
Well, I don't know. Are we meeting next week? It's Thanksgiving.
No, we're not. Yeah. Everything's closed. Yeah. It's a blackout.
I'm closed.
Yeah. So we'll see you.
I'll be blacked out.
Yeah. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good holiday.
Thank you.
If I don't see you around town, thanks for coming by.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye-bye.